Sorry. Oh, yes. I'm sorry. You're talking to Bill. Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to this live episode of Think Business. Looking forward to talking with Jonathan Silver, CEO of Affinity Solutions. Jonathan, I'm actually a Jonathan as well, but I'm looking forward to chatting with you because we're sitting here in December. It is 2020. It is shopping season for the holidays, and I'm looking forward to talking to you because you and your company are the source of insights, not only for consumer behavior but purchase behavior to build deeper relationships. And I'm a big advocate of building relationship capital, and that's different today than it was even 9 months ago. And so when it comes to consumer behavior and purchase behavior, how has that changed over the last couple months from your perspective?
Yeah, great question. Thanks for having me back on. And it's great to see you again.
Yeah, good to see you.
Yeah, I mean, look, the whole everything that we thought was going to happen or we got used to happening just went out the window with COVID. And we saw it, obviously, when the virus hit, the obvious, which is a ton of spending switched from brick and mortar to online. I think we had in 3 years, what we thought was going to happen in 3 years got compressed to 7 months.
Yeah.
Where all the different ways that consumers were shopping, not just online, but all the different hybrids like buy online, pick up in store, drive-through, home delivery, all that just became obviously a primary focus. And as you can imagine, you do something once for the first time, it's a novelty. Twice, it's interesting. 3 times, it becomes a habit.
Yeah.
You've seen a lot of consumer behavior move in that direction. We've also seen things that are kind of interesting under the hood, and then I'll give you a response to what's happening right now with holiday spending or what we just went through. But we also saw there's a lot of differences across the country as the virus hit. There was a significant decline in spend across the country, but certain states did better than others. Those states that didn't have as significant a message around safety and kind of perhaps put a little less emphasis on masks and the risks of getting out there, saw a much better recovery. But what's shocking, even for all of us, is that in the last 2 months, the economy's been pretty robust. It's recovered pretty significantly. We saw 4% increase year over year in October. We saw even higher growth than the prior month versus the same time in 2019. So the economy is resilient. Consumers are showing confidence. I think their expectation on a stimulus check coming, I think, was there, even if they didn't have certainty on exactly when. And people are showing resilience.
Yeah. I love the word resilience, and I love that you're talking about that you are seeing that from a data standpoint, not just an emotional standpoint. And so I do want to dive into a little bit more when it comes to purchasing and consumer behavior, because I think one of the things that I see as a business coach is that when COVID hit, all of these companies that had not used e-commerce properly or had not really understood how to use e-commerce for their business to allow consumers to build relationships with them, get to know them, purchase their goods and services, really got pushed in from the year 2020 to 2025 overnight. And so how are we going to continue to see that shift and that e-commerce accelerating in all businesses, whether they are professional service or selling any type of widget?
I mean, it's changed the game. So clearly it's going to stick around post COVID. I think people have gotten very accustomed to that, but there are some companies that do a lot better than others. I mean, we obviously are a source of insight for many people. The media, we provide under our Data for Good umbrella, we provide data insights to not-for-profits, scientists, academics, researchers for government policymaking. But we're also providing those insights to retailers who need to understand not just overall what's happening in the economy, but their specific competitors. Who's adopting e-commerce better than others? We've seen certain categories like pizza, right? Domino's, they of course had home delivery before COVID, but they beefed it up. They made it entirely contactless, so there was no human hands touching it from beginning to end. The pizza that you got delivered, you could personalize the delivery experience to deliver the pizza at the front door, the side door, the back door. So I think it's, companies reinventing their customer experience. It's not just about home delivery. It's about how the brand and the customer experience around the brand are going to be reimagined in a world where convenience is obviously a big driver, the inability to walk into stores. So it's not just about the channel. It's about thinking about the overall customer experience.
Yeah. Let's talk about that, because I am really all of that fascinates me. It used to be that if you were to say to someone, "Oh, I wish I had a chef that would go grocery shopping for me, pick up my laundry, do everything. I wish I had a personal assistant to do all this stuff for me," right? And even 9 months ago, I would say, and I don't know statistics, you probably know, I think people were starting to get comfortable or starting to dabble into people shopping for you and Grubhub and things of that nature, and DoorDash, and those were big. But now it's like everybody's got, in a way, these access to things that were at one point, maybe 5 years ago, I think only considered to the elites. Curbside pickup, call ahead and have somebody bring something to your car, have somebody bring something to your house, have somebody go grocery shopping for you at 5 different grocery stores so everybody in your family can eat maybe something different. Carry out from multiple different restaurants, from McDonald's to the fanciest of 5-star restaurants, and have it delivered to your door. I mean, the only thing that doesn't seem that is at your fingertips on an app is somebody to actually come and clean up your kitchen, which I'm sure will kind of be here in the next 12 to 24 months. So what does it mean to be exclusive like today? What is something that separates somebody, something that's just a little bit more exclusive for a company to build on?
Yeah, I think a lot of what was exclusive is now becoming much more the norm. And the best is yet to come. What you're going to see are customer experiences that are going to be so personalized. And I know we're talking about home delivery, but it's going to extend to when stores open up. You're going to walk into the store, some stores, and this is not science fiction, it's going to become the John Dwoskin store. I mean, it's going to be, the entire store will be personalized using virtual reality, augmented reality. I think I may have shared previously this story back in January where we were at the CES, used to be called the Consumer Electronics Show, and the Delta Airlines, this is before the world ended and travel was a thing. The CEO, Ed Bastian, was talking about new technologies that they were not introducing in 2 years or even a year out. It was about to be introduced in Detroit Airport and LAX, where Jonathan Silver and John Dwoskin can be standing in front of the same billboard. You're seeing things on that billboard that only relate to you. What time you have to be at the gate, what restaurant down the terminal has food that match your preferences, the weather in the destination city. And I'm standing right next to you, and I don't see any of that. I only see things that relate to me. And we're not wearing special glasses. There's no hidden technology that's not obvious. That's obvious, rather. And that idea, obviously travel was put on pause. That's going to become the norm in personalization, hyper-personalization of commerce, whether it's in the store or even, when it sort of recreating that experience at home. So I think this idea of concierge and being treated, differently or special, I think that it's going to be democratizing that kind of personalized touch.
Yeah.
Of course, all of us will. There's always the human nature is to look for even better that no one else has. So there'll always be the tiering, the silver, gold, platinum kind of thing. But more and more of that personalization is going to be available to everybody.
It's so wild, and I know we talked about this in our last interview. Defining what is reality then. right? It's like, so does that breed a completely narcissistic human being where everywhere somebody goes, it's exactly what they want, right? I mean, what will that do? And I don't know if you have the answer to this, but what will that do to people's perception of reality and just, their own psyche, having everything so, at their fingertips and customized?
Yeah, I mean, this is the broader societal question about artificial intelligence and machine learning, and using your data to create these highly personalized experiences. Does it become an echo chamber? Are you not able to then discover new things? Discovery is a beautiful part of any experience, including and especially commerce. So I think that's the balance, and of course, there's an incentive for folks in the chain and the commercial realm to encourage discovery. So I think I think it'll be personalized, but on the other hand, do you really want to see 20 things that you don't have any interest in? How many of us have received, after we buy something, we receive communications a day later trying to sell you the same thing? You already just bought it.
Yeah.
So I think that personalization has tremendous advantages, and it's not just about targeting an ad. It's really about making that experience differentiated and fun and entertaining.
Yeah.
We have an expression about delighting and entertaining customers before, during, and after they shop. That whole idea of personalization is going to be extended, and we intend to be a major part of that with our data platform that we are about to launch. Technically, we have launched, but we're about to introduce the next generation, where it's not just about personalizing commerce, making sure people with limited budgets get what they need that fits their budgets. It's also adjacent domains like medicine, personalized health and medicine, where you'll the data that's out there across all the different experiences in treating patients across different domains, personalized health recommendations, personalized education. The educational system of 5 years from now is going to make what we do today look prehistoric.
Yeah,
it's going to take into account the aptitudes, interests of young people and young adults and children. So, is that a narcissistic thing? I don't think so. I think it's knowing what, having the intelligence giving the intelligence to the purveyors of whatever the domain it is, of commerce, medicine, education, in a way that aligns it best with people and their needs.
Yeah. I love everything you just talked about, and I specifically love the idea of when you talk about that it's even working with people with limited budgets, because I think those people sometimes get forgotten about, and coming out of COVID, there are people with more limited budgets, and so I just wanted to highlight that. I want to talk about you, Jonathan, for a minute. I want to kind of rewind. I don't know, 20, 30, 40 years, right? And just learn a little bit about you, because I love getting in the brain of an entrepreneur and the business people, the CEOs that I talk to. How does someone get on this path to create this business? What were the seeds that were planted, decades ago that got you to here? Because I think sometimes there's such a big law of proximity gap that people are sitting at home, whether they're 20, 30, 18, et cetera, and saying, God, I would love to do what he does, but it just seems impossible because it's too far away. And so I just want to kind of bring it back a couple decades.
Yeah, sure. I think there was a famous speech that Steve Jobs gave, commencement speech at Stanford, where he said, when you look forward, and as we all know, he got fired from Apple, and it all seems very unclear. But when you look backwards, years later, it all kind of makes sense. And I'm not comparing myself to Steve Jobs, but I will say that that's very true of me as well. For me, it all started with the realization that I really didn't want to work for anyone, and that happened. I graduated Wharton School at the University of Pennsylvania and engineering at the same university, and ended up working at McKinsey, which is a well-known consulting firm. And I'm in this company, and I'm thinking to myself, as much as these super smart people, I enjoyed it. I really wanted to create. That's my DNA. I think a big part of the journey, no matter who it is, and my journey is different from your journey and different from everyone who's listening, is self-discovery and realizing, what's important to you. And for me, that was a realization. I needed to create. I'm the happiest when I create something that didn't exist before. It turned out, as I experimented with different entrepreneurial ventures that the thing that I was most excited about creating was in the realm of data. I mean, with data, what used to be called direct marketing 20 years ago became digital marketing. It's still the same foundation of using data, doing the same thing over and over again in a way that's predictable is fascinating, right? Because and now the data is being, it's not just your purchase data, which is what we've built our business around, our foundation. It's also your location, all the stuff that's out there, location data, the stuff you buy, the specific items, what you browse, how you engage online behaviorally. All of that data is so powerful in being able to lead to predictable outcomes. We'll talk about privacy later, but that's what fascinated me. And then I started to try to create a company which was not successful around families with young children to do for actually young mothers what AARP, if you're familiar with them, American Association of Retired Persons, did for seniors. And so we bundled all this stuff for young families. I had an insight when we were doing direct marketing.
Hold on, we had a quick mic malfunction. There we go.
Sorry, I got disconnected on my wire.
So you were saying the family piece, like AARP.
Yeah. So I realized that there was a real need that new mothers had to network and connect with other mothers and parents, and so we started to create this thing. We called it Mothers Network, where it was an opportunity for new parents to share ideas and build a merchandise business around it, built a set of benefits and services. Well, that didn't succeed, but what it did do is it got me to realize that we were really good at creating the bundle that parents were interested in. It was just, we didn't have the financial capital at that time to build a large membership organization. So instead, we went to financial institutions and said, well, here we got this great bundle, discounts, coupons, services, networking opportunities, content that you, Capital One, Chase could offer to your cardholders and your customers to build a deeper relationship. That caught on. And so that led these banks to say, well, this is great. We're going to use this bundle. We're going to call it the Capital One Family Network. We'll call it whatever the card issuer wanted to. They would give it away to their customers who had kids. They said, well, can you create something else for senior citizens, for college students, for outdoor enthusiasts? And so that's where the word affinity started, right? It's your life stage, your lifestyle, what floats your boat, what you care about, how you self-identify. And so that was the genesis where we started to sell to banks these bundles that were geared to these different affinity segments. At that point, we had an epiphany. We were like, well, wait a minute. These banks have rewards programs. That was the thing that differentiated them from one another, where you would get points or miles or cash back when you use your card. So we said, well, what if we took the thing that we created, these different life stage bundles, and instead of giving coupons, what if we attached the discounts and rewards to their credit card, just like a rewards program would? And that's when we built the technology where if John Dwoskin walked into Home Depot, you would get automatic rewards just for using your card as an extension of that bank's loyalty program. And that's what gave us access to all the data, right? So we were, so today we run rewards programs for over 3,000 banks that are called merchant-funded rewards or card-linked offers that are built on that. So one thing led to another. The Mothers Network thing didn't work. We took it, we repackaged it, we offered it to banks. That got some traction, and then we saw an opportunity to create this new type of rewards program. And once we had the data, we began to see great opportunities to leverage it for other things. We convinced the banks, convinced the payments companies to give us rights of use, to create these products that we now deliver today to all kinds of companies. We're the purchase insights partner for Deloitte, Accenture, Bain, McKinsey, my old employer, and lots of other companies in the marketing space.
Yeah, I love that story. And what I love about it is, one, that you talk about your failures, and two, somehow those failures turned into the ability to repurpose the idea that led you, that was a piece of the puzzle. And I think a lot of times people are afraid to fail. And I'm a big fan of that. The best ideas come from the previous ideas. And sometimes you just got to keep on repurposing until you just get it right. And so I appreciate you sharing. I appreciate you sharing that
I saw
story.
this great resume from I think it was a university professor, and it was all of his failures. It's actually published online. It's great. It's like, literally had every failure that he had, and he had quite a lot of them, but he was one of the most renowned professors in his field.
I would love to see it. If you find it, I would love to, if you
Sure.
send it to me. That's great. I love that. Let me ask you a question today. When it comes to reward platforms, there's many studies that people love rewards, and buy a cup of coffee for $3, but for $3.25 you get the free muffin. You get the all of this. Everybody wants something, and so what's the psychology that companies should be looking at when it comes to providing rewards, providing incentives, for their customers to bring them in the door, right? We're talking about consumer behavior and purchase behavior. It always feels great when you get a $100 gift card from a store that you've shopped at for the next time that you shop there. And so what is, what's the psychology behind that?
Yeah. Well, I think, the bigger story is about loyalty, right? And how loyalty has been reimagined, certainly during COVID. All of a sudden everyone's focus was not on these, give me some extra points that I can redeem for something. It was really about convenience. That became the main focus, and safety. But what's happening now, and it kind of goes back to the conversation we had earlier about customer experience, is the whole experience is less about giving you a deal every minute, and it's more about how I can build a deeper relationship around the brand. But sure, if you use data correctly, you're going to identify people that are much more responsive to a deal. Everyone wants a deal, right? And to get something of extra value. But what is it that's going to motivate you to respond might be different from me. So maybe an extra, a muffin with your coffee might motivate you, but maybe not me because I don't eat muffins. So I think it's all about personalization and making sure that the right offer, the right experience is being tailored to each individual.
Yeah.
I would also say that there's because it's probably on the mind of your listeners around privacy, and we are extremely focused on we call it personal data cloud, where everyone has their own data. All the data assets or types that I described earlier is individuals' data. They have to opt in, and so I just wanted to say that, because all of what we're talking about here needs to should, if we're doing it the right way, require the consumer to opt in and give permission.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. It's going to be such an interesting decade. I think we may have talked about this in our last interview, but pre-COVID studies that I had found were that they talked about that 85% of the jobs that exist in 2030 don't exist today in 2020. And that 75% of the global workforce will be millennials by 2025. And that doesn't include Gen Zs. And so we have this decade in front of us that's just was changing before COVID, and COVID seemed to accelerate it 5 years. And so when you look at the next decade of evolution and change, and if we're sitting here in 2030, what are we going to look back and regret if we don't do as a business?
You mean as companies?
As companies, yeah.
Yeah, I think if you don't embrace data, I mean, when we engage with retailers and businesses, it's all about real time or near real time insights that help businesses make better decisions at the local level. So even if it's a big chain, each individual store stands on its own, and being able to take that sort of outside in view, what's happening, what your customers and prospects are doing outside your own store. If companies don't adopt those types of platforms, they will be left behind, and that then fuels decisions. We provide, as an example at Affinity, a range of solutions. We're launching a data platform that's intended to enable other companies. We're really shifting more to be the underlying platform as opposed to the solution provider, to deliver customer experiences that will leverage data, permission data, to deliver those. So that's our strong conviction, is that 30 years from now, actually not even 30 years from now, 2 years from now, if companies don't adopt data as the underlying platform for how they engage with their customers and then build experiences around that, they will be left behind.
Yeah.
What I'm encouraged by is, SMBs, for example. It's not just about the big guys. That there's a democratization of these tool sets. There's a democratization of availability of data, so that even the smallest players can execute and build those capabilities, not just the big guys.
Yeah, love it. What is, tell everybody a little bit about Affinity and who your ideal clients are. So for those who are listening to all of this, are they, I'm assuming they may be thinking, am I a client? Am I somebody that would, what's the commitment? Just give kind of a flavor of your ideal clients and what they should expect.
Sure. Well, as we've evolved, our company, I mean, we work with lots of intermediaries. We work with the big consulting firms that I mentioned, Deloitte, McKinsey, Bain, Accenture, a lot of the marketing companies, but we've really committed ourselves to enable partners who can then deliver value out to customers of their own. We call that our data platform. It's a big focus of ours at Affinity Solutions. What our sort of, for lack of a better way to describe it, our calling card is we have 90 million consumers worth of data in our platform that's been fully permissioned, that looks at how people spend across retailers, across categories, across their different payment devices. And we're making it available to partners to create all kinds of cool experiences, both B2B and B2C. Our ideal customer would be either these technology partners that build applications on top of our data, but also their customers who are large retailers, small retailers. Our commitment is to make sure we're serving the entire world. And if we can't serve you directly, we can refer you to a partner who can.
Yeah.
That's the message.
I love it. All right. You ready for a quick speed round, Jonathan?
Sure.
All right. Best piece of wisdom your dad ever gave you?
Well, it's a tough one because, he wasn't a big imparter of wisdom, but I think the biggest wisdom is that, is incredibly hard work. He was the hardest worker I think I had ever seen around me growing up. And I think I adopted that work ethic. So that was the implied wisdom was, work your ass off and good things will happen.
Yeah. There's a lot of truth to that. Yeah.
He was also really funny. So he taught me the occasional joke, but he was a lot funnier than I am.
Yeah. Yeah. Humor is always good. Define yourself in one word.
Creator.
Favorite book and why?
The Power of Habit. Because it showed the ability to change your behavior by changing one triggering habit, and it affects all kinds of other things. Change one important habit and lots of other good things happen.
Yeah, it's a great book. And so is Atomic Habits. I think it's James Clear is the book. And that's another great book.
Writing it down.
One piece of advice you would give somebody who graduated college this year?
Advice would be discover your passion. I mean, I'd say that my own silver lining on COVID is it allowed me to refine my own personal vision. And here I am years later, still doing it, which is around using data to improve people's lives. Discover your passion. And then if I were to recommend a career choice, I think you can't go wrong if you are involved around data.
Yeah. Well, numbers don't lie. It's hard to negotiate fact. And you have kind of showcased that. And I appreciate you being on the show. You're always a wealth of knowledge and insight. Talking about consumer behavior and purchase behavior today, and how important it is to hyper personalize what you do, create the ultimate experience, focus on the growth of deepening relationships is so key. I can't wait to see the virtual reality and the artificial intelligence of everything you're talking about come true. And the power of using data to make decisions is so critical. And I love all the takeaways that you shared. Any last thoughts, Jonathan?
No, I guess the message is watch what's going to happen over the next months and couple of years. There's going to be just tip of the iceberg, the renaissance of applications around, across these different domains. It's going to open up all kinds of value for everyone, from businesses to consumers.
Tell everybody how they can get a hold of you, Jonathan, if they want to connect.
Our website's the best way, affinitysolutions.com, affinitysolutions with an S.com, and we have ways of reaching out to me. You can also reach out to me personally at jsilver@affinitysolutions.com, JSILVER, and I'll be happy to help in any way I can.
All right, great. Jonathan, thanks very much for being on the show. I appreciate it as always. Thanks everybody for listening. And if Jonathan can be of any assistance, please reach out to him. Thanks, Jonathan.
Thank you, John. I appreciate you having me.